Hello, hello, hello. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome back for another Sunday for Willie Creamin's Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Hope everyone's doing well. Definitely good to be back. Last week, we didn't really care for the way things went last week. And I felt like I needed to spice some things up a little bit. So I got in the lab, talked to the crew. We're going to change some things up as we go forward here. And, hopefully you guys are vibing with it. So let me know what you think and we can roll from there. But things might be a little bit different this week, but I only take a little bit of time to get used to. And then I think we'll be good going forward. Let's go ahead and start off. What we're going to do, we're going to talk a little bit about fantasy this week in terms of some of the positions that I like and kind of my picks at each position. Give you a breakdown on it, why I feel that way, and then we can kind of move forward from there. If you got questions, drop it in the chat. Let me know. But we'll get going right now. QB starts that I like this week. The first one, let's start off with Kyler Murray, right? Now listen, it's this matchup against Washington is awesome this week. I look at it like the way things have been going for the Washington defense, I think bode very well for Kyler Murray. They've gone over the 100-yard mark on the ground 3 weeks in a row. So the rushing upside is there for him. But they haven't in my opinion, honestly, like I just think they haven't really been able to show that they can stop opposing offenses. And with Murray, listen, he's just been on a roll dating back to last season. Anyone that's watched him knows he's playing his best football out there. He's throwing the ball effectively. Listen, not for massive yardage, but it's effective yardage, and he's being able to make plays with his legs, open things up in the passing game, and then if it's not there, he's able to run the ball. Now, some people have been kind of cracking down on him, saying, "Oh, we thought the rushing upside was going to be more." But look at it. Listen, he's only rushed the ball 5 times in each game. And if you look, it's kind of surprising. I was shocked when I saw the stat. Yeah, he's got 3 games where he's ran the ball 5 times, and it's not groundbreaking, but it's going to get you that extra 4 or 5 points each week, which is a game changer. You look at some of the quarterbacks that were drafted around him, and I mentioned this last week, right? You look at Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud, Joe Burrow. All these guys in most drafts were taken ahead of Murray, and he's paying out on his value at that pick in the 6th, 7th round right there. But I think honestly he's played his best football. He's looked the best he's been all year. Out of these games going back into last season, since like week 9, week 10 when he came back. He looks quick, explosive. He's super elusive right now, too. Not to mention the cherry on top, right? He's only thrown 1 pick and he's only lost 1 fumble through 3 games. And that's very good for a guy that, used to be able to sling the ball around, would have kind of these careless picks, didn't really protect the football that well. And you're seeing him through 3 games being able to do that and show that. So I really like his upside this week. I think he's got a great matchup, a very juicy matchup for him against Washington. Kind of funny, Jaden Daniels, who's playing against Arizona, I think he's also got a great matchup this week. And listen, he showed this past weekend that he can throw the ball. I know people have kind of been patient, waiting to see exactly what he can do. But this Arizona defense has shown that it can be had through the air. And they only have 1 pick on the year. Now, listen, I know that's against Stafford, Goff, and Josh Allen. I get it, but you still want to see more turnovers, and they're not generating them right now. Jaden Daniels has 0 turnovers on the season, and I just want to say that again so that everyone hears. He's got 0 turnovers on the season this year, which is crazy for a rookie quarterback through 3 games. So some people are going to point out, yeah, he had 3 fumbles in week 1. I get that. He didn't lose any of them, though. And that's the only way you get graded on turnovers in this league is if you lose them. He's been very good at protecting the football. He's getting more comfortable throwing the ball, like I mentioned, right? And he's developing that rapport with McLaurin, which definitely paid dividends this past weekend. But you look at the last few weeks, right? He's has long completions of 32, 34, 55. Like he's ramping up. He's not afraid to sling the ball, and that's really his fearlessness is showing out there. On the ground, he's had double-digit carries in each week, right? Like that's crazy as well. He's basically playing right now the way most people thought Anthony Richardson was going to be this year. And he's got a nose for the end zone. He's being smart with what he's doing. And, I just look at it right now. His coach isn't asking too much of him, but make sure he protects the football. And that's exactly what he's doing. So, if you look right now, and I know he wasn't the top quarterback off the board in the draft this year, in the NFL draft, but you look at things like you expected Caleb Williams to be doing better than he is right now. Drake May, yeah, I know he hasn't had a chance to really start, and we haven't seen what he can do yet. But Jaden Daniels is by far outproducing all of these guys. McCarthy, unfortunately, with the knee injury, and Penix isn't seeing time right now. Nix is out there, but he's getting trashed. Like Jaden Daniels looks like the most polished dude right now out of all of these guys. So really happy with what he's got, and just feel like he's going to further that reputation this week against Arizona. As I mentioned, I like both of these guys to really be able to tear it up this week. So a dark horse I have for quarterback this week is actually Baker Mayfield. As long as Evans and Godwin play, I know Godwin was listed as questionable. He had the neck thing, but he's good to go. Evans, it looks like he's going to go as well. But I know Philly's tough, but they were embarrassed last week. The Bucks were by Denver. Like, I mean, straight up embarrassed. And I expect them to bounce back in big fashion here. And Philly is, they snuck by last week with the win, feeling real good about that. But this week, I really think they're going to have an opportunity, for an upset. And I definitely like Tampa Bay this week. So, the guy that I want to fade this week is Jared Goff against Seattle. And listen, it's a defense that's led up 397 yards through the air through 3 games. Like they're just not letting anything through that secondary. It's basically a no-fly zone. I know Detroit's really good at running the ball, but Seattle's defense under Mike McDonald has let up even less yards on the ground than they have through the air. I just think this is a week Detroit's going to really have to push it to be able to win. So let's go ahead and move on now. My running back start that I like this week is going to be Najee Harris. And all right, like I can hear you guys snickering and stuff. I get that and stuff, but it's the perfect matchup for him this week. And he could really go off. I mean, he really could finish as the top running back on the week with Warren on the bench. When I say bench, he's hurt. He's not playing this week. So, and this is something Najee hasn't done in a long time. Like we got some of that his rookie year where he was putting up really good numbers every single week. We haven't seen that in a while. He was somewhat consistent last year, but don't forget they had the extra game to play with as well. And Indy's defense right now, they're letting up the second most yards on the ground next to only Dallas. I mean, and Dallas is just, they've decided they can't stop the run anymore. They did well on Thursday night against the Giants, but I don't really trust anything that comes out of Dallas right now. And listen, Pittsburgh has a path in this game where under Arthur Smith, where they could just decide to keep running the ball. Legitimately, they could run for 350 plus yards this week, especially the way they play defense and can get the ball back in their offense's hands. I'm expecting them to just dominate at the point of control this week, and really like the possession. They're going to control the clock a lot in this game. Najee's also getting a ton of carries. We're seeing that through the first few weeks. He hasn't been particularly efficient. I get it. It does make sense, but I expect him to get plenty of opportunities this week. Also, Patterson, he could be flex worthy in this matchup, seeing as how Indy just can't stop water from running at this point. All right, moving on. So some wide receiver starts that I like this week. And listen, this pains me to do because I just haven't been really a Brandon Ayuk fan. Anyone that watches my podcast knows it. But listen, against this New England secondary that somehow like they've changed the way they play defense and they can't cover receivers. They're giving up almost 250 yards through the air, through their first 3 games, which is very un-New England like. They kept Burrow in check in week one, but I think that has more to do with the Bengals being slow starters than really New England being on. And then, you look at what happened when Geno Smith and Aaron Rodgers went out there. Yes, I know Aaron Rodgers, the guy who hasn't thrown for 300 yards in like, what, 24, 25 games now, but he almost threw for 300 against New England, which is kind of crazy. But New England's been known for having a good secondary, so it just, I don't know, it hasn't been it for them this year. I don't know, they got to be able to get it figured out, but I don't think it's going to be this week. And Ayuk, listen, he was sure about his money in the preseason, but like, I want to see him be about earning his money during the season. And last week it was Jennings that went off. I think this week it's going to be Ayuk. So I just think, the way the season's gone so far for San Francisco has not been good. Yeah, McCaffrey being injured, Kittle out, Debo banged up, all of that. And I think this is the week that Ayuk steps up. So really high on him this week. And I really think this is going to be his weekend to be able to show it. So next one I like is Drake London. And yes, I know he's playing the Saints. I get it. They've been good on defense so far this year. They've surprised a lot of people on both defense and offense. But in terms of the points that they've allowed, like, that's basically saying like, okay, well, we only given up this many points, but they can be had when it comes to yardage. And I really think that's where Drake London's going to excel this week. He doesn't need to score a touchdown in order to be able to get opportunities. And I just think Atlanta has the ability to push the ball down the field. It wasn't a good start for London in week one against Pittsburgh. He only gets the 3 targets. It looks like Atlanta's very predictable on offense, all of that. But, they've kind of changed that narrative in the last 2 weeks. Oh, man, let's see. All right, we got Red Dog up in here. Keenan Allen, Michael Pittman, or Zach Charbonnet for flex? Oh, man, I would definitely fade Charbonnet this week because Ken Walker's back. Keenan Allen, I know he's still banged up. I think what's going to end up happening is Indy's going to have to throw the ball this week. I think you're going to have a better chance with Pittman in there. It's the most realistic out of those 3 that you're going to have. Keenan Allen, like I said, it seems like he's still nursing ankle injuries and all of these little nicks and things. So it's kind of tough for him. He just really hasn't had a chance to develop that rapport with Caleb Williams yet. But Michael Pittman, they've got Josh Downs coming back as well. You're right, man. Like, dude, I'm a Colts fan. It sucks seeing Richardson being the way he is. Like, dude, stop being so crazy. Like, he's a super athlete. I just want to see him go out and sling the ball. Pittman, I know he's like that Mr. One catch 7 yards, and every single time it's going to be 7 to 9 yards, but that's what they need to be able to consistently move the chains. And if, especially this week, they're going to be behind, I'm fairly certain, in this game. But don't forget too, man, Josh Downs is coming back, and that's going to be a big difference for Richardson. Not only that, he's got Pierce to be able to stretch the field. It's going to open things up for Pittman as well. And if Indy, I mean, look at the way the season started, man. A lot of upsets from teams that we thought weren't going to be good are smashing teams that are. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a letdown week for Pittsburgh. Now, I'm out here pitching Najee Harris because I think he's going to be great this week against Indy, but don't be surprised if Indy jumps out to a quick lead and really is, surprises Pittsburgh a little bit this week. I'd be Pittman all the way, man. Definitely on that. Thanks for commenting, man. I really appreciate it. Just real quick, I'll close up on Drake London here. I know we mentioned he got the 3 targets in week 1 from Pittsburgh, but he's really stepped that up quite a bit in the last 2 weeks. He's 7 targets and then 9 going from week 2 to week 3. And I expect him to crack double digits this week. Him and Cousins, they seem more in rhythm. Seems like they know what they got going on. And he needs to produce for them in order for them to be able to move the chains. He's the alpha in this offense. It's not Kyle Pitts. So really think they're going to have a tough time running the ball. Bijan, I wouldn't be surprised to see him split out a little bit more. But I think Drake London, he's going to pop off this game, really have a good one for him. So now listen, tight end, like, first of all, tight end's been awful this year. Just, I'm even seeing memes about like remove the tight end position from fantasy football because it's so bad. It's just been an absolute shit show. And it seems like Brock Bowers, who was almost a ninth or 10th round pick, seems to be the dude. But it'd be an easy pick for him each week to be able to do that. I want to give you guys something different. So I'm going to go with Dalton Kincaid here. Yes, I know he's off to a slow start. Like, no, I'm not losing faith in this guy. Like, the Bills are just built different this year. The chemistry he showed last year with Allen didn't dissipate. It's not like it went away. It's still there. Like, he's gonna have opportunities. They just need to be able to get into position for him to be able to get that. Unfortunately, one of the things that plays a part in that is injuries. But when you're as reliable as Kincaid is, I mean, you look at it. The last 11 weeks he played last season, he was getting six or more targets in nine of those games. That's consistency that you really want to see. And I really think like so far in 2024, like it just hasn't been the same for him, right? Like we've been kind of hoping that it's going to pick up a little bit. It has a tiny bit. He gets the touchdown and stuff, but like look at the last 2 weeks that they've had, right? Absolute blowouts against the Dolphins and Jags. It just like wasn't really good for him at any point to be able to get the ball. But this week, I feel really good about him because they're playing Baltimore this week, and Baltimore just loves to give up yards to the tight end position. 280 yards so far through 3 weeks. That's awesome for them. So, honestly, if you've watched Baltimore this year, it seems at times that they're just lost in coverage. Like they just don't, they're losing their assignments. Kyle Hamilton seems like a rookie this year. He seemed like an all pro last year. Not sure really what happened to him particularly, but this defense and Baltimore's offense has lost a lot this year. They lost Mike McDonald, which we all know that coordinators play a role in this league. It's not just you don't just remove a coordinator from a team, they become a head coach and you just keep cruising. We saw exactly what happened with Philly last year after that happened, losing Steichen. But Baltimore, like I mentioned, they're not the same defense that they've had the last couple years, and they can really be had at the tight end position. So I'm definitely high on Kincaid this week. I think he's going to be awesome. And if you can have a guy like that on your squad who's staying healthy, I mean that's a game changer at this point for the tight end position. So, guys, that's going to be it for this week. I hope everyone's doing well in terms of fantasy this year. Best of luck to everyone this week. I'll be back next Sunday, but just wanted to thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate the support. Love you all, and keep things going. Definitely keep it going in the future. All right. You guys take care. Peace.